In the SEC, they're fond of saying, it just means more. Oh, mama, does it ever. It's time to show the most passionate fans in the country why Boomer Sooner in the eyes of Texas, a muddy river that divides two states, a crimson and cream and burnt orange line in the stands that's a line in the sand, the schooner and the ponies, Bevo and Big Tex, and that golden hat don't just mean more. They mean everything. It's time to show SEC country why this game is the game. From inside Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium, this is Sooner Game Day presented by Taco Mayo. Big appetite, bigger savings. Download and save today. For the 120th time ever, the 96th time at the Cotton Bowl with Ted Lehman and Roy Williams making plays like that. And the first time as SEC rivals, it's Oklahoma and Texas. Kickoff 2:30 on ABC. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Holly Rowe, Laura Rutledge will be on the call, and hopefully many more classic calls. Like that play right there for Baker Mayfield and D.D. Westbrook, C.D. Lamb. He's not too far away these days.
No one's going to get him.
So many great plays at the venerable Cotton Bowl, and oh, it feels good when you can put that hat on at the end of the proceedings, fellas.
No better feeling other than the fact that the inside of the hat is chipping and it will cut your forehead.
No worries.
Not
It's
a comfort
worth it.
fit.
It's worth it. These guys have made many plays in this game. You know my cohorts, the Butkus and Bednarik award-winning linebacker, the All-American, the national champion at Oklahoma, Teddy Lehman, and sandwiched in between us is the Werfel Trophy winner, the Werfel Trophy winner, the academic All-American of the Year and All-American center, Gabe Eichard. You know, Oklahoma has won 5 of the last 6, 7 of the last 9 in the series. We can take all those stats, toss them in the Red River on our drive down I-35, fellas, because you got to go make plays to win this game. Guys, wax poetic for us because as fans, as media members, we can go watch the game, but we don't ever have the privilege of getting to play in this game. Teddy, start with you. Fondest memory, what's it like? Give us the recollections of what it's like to be in the dirt in this game.
Well, I guess the fondest memory just overall, because every year there's something that's really cool. It's just winning all 4 games played down there was awesome.
Be nice.
That's fantastic.
No, I mean, it's obviously whenever you come in as a freshman, you know it's big, and then you get down there and it's like, okay, I didn't know it was like this, because it's different. It's just a different perspective, and then you build on it. And by the time you're a senior and you're seeing some of the young guys run out there, and it's kind of not that it's old, but you're experienced, and you just have a different feeling of the whole experience. It's awesome.
Once it's your 3rd or 4th one, you don't feel like your heart is going to bust out of your chest.
Exactly.
No, there's nothing like it. It is the best spectacle in college football, and I think it's got a great argument as the best spectacle in all of American sports. Mm-hmm. They play a college football game in the middle of a state fair. It's like the most American thing ever.
It is.
Mere feet away from the stadium, you have corn dogs and beer. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. And just thinking back on my time, only won 3 of 4.
Oh, man.
Solid,
I know.
Letdown.
I know.
7 of 8, though, between you guys.
Pretty good.
That's pretty
7
good.
7 of 8's pretty good.
Not bad.
But you look at my fondest memories, 2011 and 2012, we just beat the brakes off them. It was so much fun. Watching the Texas side empty out early both of those years is about as satisfying of a feeling as there is.
Mm-hmm. I think that Bevo even loaded up and left the game early in 2012.
He was taking a nap.
Yeah, that was a stretch of 15 years, I think, where the spread ended up being 2 scores in the rivalry. It's gotten a lot closer as of late. So as far as this matchup, we start with the quarterbacks. Michael Hawkins Jr., he's going to be the 7th freshman quarterback to start this game for Oklahoma, the first true freshman. You have to go back and kind of do the math a little bit. Jamel Holloway didn't start this game when he was a true freshman. Sooners won the national title. Troy Aikman actually started that game in 85. So it's crazy, it's unique, and he's going to be the first to do it. What do you think he's feeling this week, Gabe?
Well, if he's human, he's nervous, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That just comes with the buildup of this game, and it's only his 2nd start of his career. But I do think it's an advantage that his dad played it
Yeah.
He knows what this game is all about. Like he grew up watching this game. He knows what it means. He knows the history. I do think there's some value in that. And he's been preparing for this moment for a long, long time because of the support system around him. And I think the experience he got 2 weeks ago at Auburn, going into that environment, I think that was invaluable experience, Ted, for what he's going to see in the Cotton Bowl.
Well, and yes, true freshman, but the experience, the composure, the poise, all those things that he possesses aren't what you would typically expect from a true freshman. As you point out, he's been training for this forever. I mean, he's grown up in about as competitive of an environment as you can imagine, knows the history of this series. And, sometimes experience is always a factor, there's no doubt. But sometimes going in as a true freshman, where maybe you don't know what you don't know and you can just cut it loose and go play, that can be a big benefit.
No doubt. The OU defense, Teddy, let's be honest, it was a season-changing, not just game-changing, potentially season-changing pick six by Kip Lewis. But they gave up the most yards they've given up this season defensively. They were on the field a lot. How do you think they're feeling coming into this one?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt whenever you watch that Auburn game that the defense was a little bit tired. You could see just not quite as explosive, getting pushed off the ball a little bit more. Still played really good defense. You point out they're on the field a bunch, and they've been on the field a bunch the whole season and been, demanded to make big-time plays. The pressure's been on that side of the ball. So I think after a bye week, a little chance to regroup, get your legs back, get healthy, be able to refocus for this stretch run, I think they're going to be ready to go.
Texas quarterback position is front and center this week as well, not just Michael Hawkins Jr., but Quinn Ewers has missed the last couple of games as we take a look at the scoop presented by Brahms Ice Cream and Dairy Stores, farm fresh for over 50 years. Ewers out, strained oblique. Arch Manning looked really good in his stead. They've got 2 first-round draft picks at quarterback at the university. It's a little bit like when Oklahoma had Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray on the same roster. Maybe not quite there, but similar. Take us through the dynamics of this Texas quarterback situation and how it factors in Saturday.
Steve Sarkisian has an excellent problem.
Yeah, he does.
He has the problem that every college football coach wants to have. I think he's got 2 of the top 15, top 20 quarterbacks in college football on his roster. I think that's fair to say with what Arch Manning has shown. But all indications point to Ewers being healthy and him playing in this football game. He's the leader of that team. He's their guy. And I think they were extra cautious with him over the last couple of weeks because they weren't playing good football teams. So I expect him to be out there slinging it. And there is one thing I am wondering about. And will he be willing to put his body on the line if he has to take off and go pick up a 3rd and 7, a 3rd and 6, and there's going to be contact at the sticks with Robert Spears-Jennings or Danny Stutzman. But you look at him, if he's playing from a clean pocket, he's going to carve you up.
Yeah.
He's good. He can make all the throws. He's got excellent touch in the passing game. He's an experienced guy that has a fantastic understanding of the offense.
And experience in this game. This is going to be his 3rd start in the Red River rivalry. None of the other quarterbacks that are going to play have any of that type of experience.
He's got experience, and some of those experiences. Now, 1 year, very positive experience. The other years, I mean, we've seen him make mistakes.
Yeah, 3 turnovers by
Carry
Texas
some
last
baggage
year.
into the game.
He's like any other quarterback. If he's in the pocket and comfortable, he's going to make all the throws.
Teddy,
if he's uncomfortable, he's going to make mistakes.
Texas defense, they lead the SEC second nationally in scoring defense, giving up about 7 points a game. Now, we could make an argument they're not the most tested team in the country. They played Michigan, but how good does this Texas defense look to you?
They're really solid all the way through, all 3 levels, defensive line, backers, secondary. They've got big-time playmakers, highly recruited players. I think they're led by the front 7. The defense, now, they lost the 2 gigantic monsters on the inside from a year ago, but they're still really physical up front. They play fast, they play hard. They've got a really good edge rusher at Simmons. The second-level backer is incredibly athletic. and they've got great corners that can cover. So they've got everything, but there are some opportunities there for our offense if we design it and come up with some things, get Mike Hawkins involved in the run game a little bit. They have not faced a mobile quarterback anything close to Mike Hawkins, so that is going to change the dynamics of a defense really quickly.
The last time Texas was #1 coming into this game was 1984. It's the famous The Eyes of Texas game. Keith Stanberry intercepts a pass in the end zone. He's clearly in bounds, but there was no replay. There was also no overtime. Texas elected to kick a field goal and end up with a 15-15 tie. Both sides walked out. Oklahoma was #3 that day. Both sides walked out saying, we're #1. It was a 15-15 tie.
It was great that I learned from Boz that's where they know, we know, the whole world knows that they actually won that football game. Pretty
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, we would have both a replay and not a tie if that game were played today. Oklahoma offense, a spark late against Auburn. Now an extra week to get young Michael Hawkins ready, perhaps get healthier as well. Where is the Sooner offense? Headed into the Cotton Bowl on Saturday. We'll dive into that next on Sooner Game Day, presented by Taco Mayo. It is the Red River rivalry coming up Saturday at the Cotton Bowl, 2:30 kickoff. Games have been close recently. 9 of the last 11 in the series decided by 8 points or less, so that's essentially a one-score game. Prior to that, 15 straight were decided by 2 scores or more. Just interesting ebbs and flows. You get interesting ebbs and flows in the games themselves. And Michael Hawkins, we talked about him being the first true freshman to start. Now, Dad played in the game, as you spoke about. He's also got Casey Thompson in the quarterback room with him. Casey Thompson quarterbacked Texas in this game in 2021, threw 5 touchdowns. His dad, Charles, of course, quarterback for Oklahoma in this game. So I'm coming to you first, Gabe. How can Mike Hawkins pull this off as Sooner starting quarterback?
I don't think he necessarily needs to pull anything off. It's about the group as a whole playing well. If he goes out there and tries to be Superman and tries to do more than he needs to do, it's not going to go well. And yeah, would it be great if he does some special things with his legs and makes some special throws? Yes, and he is very capable of that. He's an extremely talented player. But the key for Mike Hawkins is to do what he's been doing. Make the right decision. Make the right decision in the passing game. Make the right decision in the run game. Just make good decisions. Execute your job at a high level. I actually think the key for Michael Hawkins Jr. in this game is for the other 10 guys around him to play well.
Yeah.
If those guys play well, I got a ton of faith in Mike Hawkins to play well, Ted, because he's an extremely talented guy, and I think he's prepared for this moment. But he doesn't have to go out there and do anything extraordinary. This offense just needs to go and execute at a higher level than it's been executed.
Well, there's no doubt. The formula for this football team hasn't changed, and I don't believe it will change this season. This is a defensive-led football team. Offense needs to possess it, move the clock, find a way to put some points up on the board. But ultimately, what you don't want is the massive critical mistake. And he's been great at that. If he could replicate what he did at Auburn, that's pretty much exactly how you want him to play.
Injuries, of course, the wide receiver position. Who knows if help is coming? Teddy, you had Coach Venables on the radio show this week. Injuries get brought up with the head coach every single week. Any good news, any news at all in that? Deion Burks, maybe Taylor Tatum coming back at running back. Any news that you think we might see?
Not that I know of. I mean, well, that's just going to be a game day thing, I suppose. But, it's kind of to that point now where there's been some injuries that we're not going to be able to rely on. All right? We've got guys that have to step up in those voids and make plays. At the receiver position, we need a running back to step up. Tatum, obviously was really good in the early run of this season. Someone else is going to have to make some plays. If we get any of those guys, it's got to be a bonus.
Gabe, I suppose the good injury news has been on the offensive line. Jake Taylor, Branson Hickman getting back in there on a regular basis. But Febechi Wiwu at right guard is the only player to start all 5 games at the same position. on the offensive line. How important is potential? You could have the same 5 guys at the same 5 spots going into this game. How critical can that be?
It is very critical. It's important for an offensive line to play together in the same spots, to develop that communication, that cohesion. That's how you get better. You play a lot together in the same spots. Now, Michael Tarquin does deserve credit. He has been bouncing back between both tackle positions, and I think he's been their most consistent guy. So I think Tarquin deserves some credit there. But this is going to be as healthy as they've been. I still don't think Branson Hickman and Jake Taylor are going to be all the way back. Those guys probably aren't going to be healthy until next spring, right? That's just kind of how it works when you're playing through injuries. But they executed at the highest level they've executed all year at Auburn, and I expect it to be even better. They were targeting the proper guys in the run game and in pass protection, and I think it's going to be even better against Texas. It's a big challenge for them, though. Texas is very good along the defensive line. I think overall it's the best defense this offense has seen.
Running back spot, Javante Barnes, when the offense got going, in particular against Auburn, he was in there, and they rode him in the run game. Teddy, do you see him having the bulk of the carries as we head into the Cotton Bowl?
Until we see differently, I think that's what you have to expect. He's, when we started off the season, maybe we weren't sure who exactly was going to be the guy, and as it's unfolded, he's been the guy that's seen the big bulk of the carries. I don't think another running back even carried the football against Auburn. It was him and Mike Hawkins were the only 2 guys. So
Sawchuk carried it once. It got called back for holding.
Correct. So I have to imagine that he's going to be the featured back for the foreseeable future. Now, if you get Tatum back, maybe that changes a little bit and they spread the carries around, but I think Barnes is your guy.
You mentioned holding 8 offensive penalties against Auburn, which, let's face it, it stymied things for about 3/4 of the football game.
Took some big plays off the board is what it did.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, long runs.
That was disappointing, there's no doubt. Can't happen in this football game. You have penalties that take 40-yard plays off the board in this game. It's going to be so deflating for this offense. Got to be cleaner. Right now, penalties of passion happen, right? You're flying around, you get a hold, like those things happen. What can't happen in this game is the pre-snap stuff. Yeah. You can't have the false starts. You can't have the illegal motions, right? That took a touchdown off the board, which, by the way, that was a terrible call. But it is so important that they have the level of communication pre-snap that they did against Auburn.
Yeah.
Hawkins was excellent. The offensive line communicated things well, and I think that's why they didn't have a bunch of pre-snap issues in that football game. Penalties need to be at a minimum. You're not going to have none. That's fantasy land. But the penalties you do have need to be penalties of passion.
Bye week, Teddy. Now, the Sooners have had a week off, knowing that now Michael Hawkins Jr. is their guy at quarterback. Not that you're all of a sudden going to do what Coach Switzer did, start running the wishbone in 1 week and figure things out. But are there things that you can tweak, other things, personnel groups, maybe you could do headed into this game that we haven't seen?
I don't think there's any doubt, and they're going to have to. We've got to find a way to generate some offense, and I think you can get the quarterback involved. I think there's some things in the running game that we can clearly do. They're going to have to get creative. They've had some time to kind of go back, scout themselves, see what they're good at, see what they've really struggled with, and move things around a little bit. You can't just go back and show up with the same stuff that you've had. You're going to have to find a way to run the football. If you want to possess it, you got to find a way to run the football. Quarterback run game is going to be a big piece of that.
I agree.
What's Gabe saying is, we got to go to break.
I concur.
I concur, sir. Let's go to break. We're going to talk defense next. The Sooner defense still forcing time-sensitive turnovers, as they did with Kip Lewis, helping to seal the game down at Auburn, getting to the quarterback.
Ouch.
They are tested. They've played against some of the best offenses in the country, and they have come through so far for this team. Talking Sooner defense next. Sooners and Longhorns in the Cotton Bowl at 2:30. This is the first time since they started playing on an annual basis in 1929 that both teams are coming off a bye. which surprised me a little bit coming in. But it's played early in the season. Typically don't have early season buys. You have them later on. Turnovers, huge factor. So we're going to start with that. Oklahoma has forced three turnovers in 2020 and 2023 when they were the lower-ranked team coming into the game. That certainly aided it. But since 2000, guys, 15-7 is the team that wins the turnover battle in this game. 2/3 of the time in this game, you win the turnover battle. That includes last year when Oklahoma was 3-0 in that turnover war. So, Teddy, 12 takeaways for the Sooners this season. Texas has given it away a little bit. They've turned it over 7 times. Will turnovers be the determining factor this year?
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just this football game. I mean, that's the big stat in every football game that's played. So, yeah, I think it's going to be huge. We've done it in the past. We've been good at it already again this year. I think there can be some opportunities for us, and we know that Venables, they always have something cooking. They have something going for what Texas is going to do. I mean, this play right here is a perfect example. They had that dialed up in practice. It played out just how they expected, and they've scored on that play. Venables' defenses have previously. I think that there's going to be a good chance that we get to the quarterback, whether it's just by a straight rush. They like to get 5 guys out. We should have some one-on-ones there. Or by blitz. We've done a really good job disguising where it's coming from, hiding who's the blitzers, who the droppers. I think there's going to be some opportunities. Let's not forget that Ewers had to tuck it and try and go get some first downs with his legs last year, and we made him pay for it, and he put it on the turf.
Cannot wait to see how the turnover battle factors in, Gabe. And in Oklahoma's pass coverage, you're seeing them getting pressure against Tulane earlier this year. Auburn had 338 through the air. That's the most the team has thrown for against them. Texas, 36 plays of 20 yards plus. Not all of those in the pass game. Obviously, they can run it as well. But how concerning is Texas's big play ability against the Sooner defense?
It is rather concerning, Chad.
Yep.
No, they got explosive playmakers on offense, and they're going to have some explosive plays in this game. Steve Sarkisian is excellent at scheming guys open and excellent at predicting coverage. And they've got a very talented group. And if Quinn Ewers is comfortable, he can deliver any throw on the football field. I think one of the keys is to not give up big plays that result in touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like it did at Auburn. If you give up a big play, okay, get the guy on the ground, make him snap it again.
That's right.
Texas has had issues over the last couple seasons. Texas has had issues scoring touchdowns in the red zone. They had issues scoring touchdown in the red zone in this game a year ago. So if you give up the big plays, which you're going to give up some, make sure you get the guy on the ground and make them execute when the field is condensed.
Make them take another snap. That's the best that you can do, Teddy. You want to play in games like this. And Danny Stutzman, he didn't come out and say, I'm coming back so that I can play against Texas next year, but he had opportunities to go pro. You come back to playing games like this, don't you? How
Absolutely.
big a game does – and maybe it wasn't his best game against Auburn, but the defense pulled the win off. How big does he need to play? And isn't this why you come back to play?
There's no doubt. Yeah, this is exactly why you come back. And he's – even if his stat line doesn't just pop off and it looks like he had the best day out there, what he does is absolutely critical with getting guys lined up, being the general out there on the field for this defense. He plays – both inside backer positions. They move him around quite a bit. I mean, he is absolutely critical to this football team, no matter what the stat line looks like. But it would be very nice if Stutzman had a big signature play in this football game. And with the way that he plays, he's flying all over the field. I think he's going to be rested and ready to go. I mean, it's been a rough first half of the year for him just because all the pressure that's been on the defense. I would be shocked if Stutzman doesn't make his presence known down there in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, let's take a look at the coaching chess match in this game, because you could argue it's the best chess match in the country this year. Steve Sarkisian, expert, one of the top offensive minds in the game. And then Brent Venables, of course, Zach Alley, play calling. He's got a lot of that duty on his plate. But how fascinating is just the chess match between that offensive mind and that defensive mind coming in, Gabe?
What an excellent opportunity for Zach Alley.
Yeah.
to make a name for himself. Sure. And Venables is still heavily involved in the game planning, but this is Zach Alley's defense. And this is his first crack at Steve Sarkisian, who I believe is arguably the best in college football when it comes to designing things offensively. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And you know that both of these staffs for the last 2 weeks have looked at this going, oh, we're going to get him with this. And we're going to get him with this. And it's going to be fun to watch and see what new wrinkles both sides have, because there's going to be some new game plan things. But it'll be interesting to see which group gets the advantage and maybe catches the other group off guard more often.
Ted, it's going to be fun to watch. You can imagine what Brent Venables is doing this week.
Oh, yeah, and you know that both coaching staffs think about this football game year-round. It's like the chess match in the office that goes on continuously. It's all, the board's always sitting there. That's kind of how this one is. And, yeah, I think that I would be shocked if both sides, offenses and defenses, don't have something special cooked up for this one.
Last time Oklahoma played the number one team in the country in the regular season, Ted, 2000, Nebraska.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
That season ended well.
I
was there.
That game went well.
Yeah.
Take that.
It didn't start well.
We could have a block punt, couple of deep balls, pick six. I think we could use all those things this weekend.
Those things can and will happen in the Red River rivalry on occasion. So the Longhorns, we've talked about their quarterbacks. What about the other explosive playmakers? Let's just say the corral is not bare in that category. And is Texas's defense not getting enough praise? We'll hand some out next on Sooner Game Day, presented by Taco Mayo. Game Day is always presented by Taco Mayo. It is the Red River rivalry. 2:30 is kickoff on ABC on Saturday. Longhorns are the second top 6 team the Sooners have faced this year. Tennessee was the other. They have 4 more top 25 teams after today remaining on the schedule. Now, some are sliding back a little bit. Ole Miss has moved back a little bit. LSU is tough, though. We'll look at that when we get there. But lots of offensive playmakers. We talked about Ewers. We talked about Arch Manning. Jaden Blue and Jarrett Gibson, the running backs, can be explosive playmakers. They get about equal duties for this team. Teddy, how do you limit the explosiveness of this Texas offense?
Well, you start right there by stopping the run. And, it's the same formula as it is against any offense. Stop the run, get them in third and long, make them predictable, and you can start to change things up on defense. And I think we have a good chance to stop the run. Of all the weapons they have on this offense, I think their offensive line is really improved. Obviously, Ewers, the receiving core, really solid. I would say the running backs are probably the low point of the offense. Still good players. But, they fumbled here recently. I think we can force them to put the ball on the ground, but we can stop the run. If we can stop the run in the RPO game, force them in third and long, and that's whenever you can really make Quinn Ewers uncomfortable, I think we can have a nice formula for a win.
Wide receivers are explosive. You start with Isaiah Bond, the Alabama transfer. How in the world he wasn't playing more at Alabama, I don't know. I guess that's how loaded they are at that spot. You throw in Matthew Golden, who was number 2. We saw him a moment ago. How dangerous is this wide receiving core?
Very good. Athletic, fast, explosive. Isaiah Bond is the guy, though.
Yep.
He is, I'll just be real, he's a little terrifying.
He's a go-to in any critical moment of a football game. That's
he
where they're
is.
going.
He's a first-round wide receiver is what he is. And he is an explosive play waiting to happen. He can run by you in some of the vertical routes, some of the deep over stuff, but I think he's most dangerous when they just get the ball in his hands quickly.
Yeah.
The RPO stuff, they use him a lot in the screen game. They run some traditional wide receiver screen game that you just don't see a ton of in college football, and he gets yards after he catches it. He does a nice job of running through contact, and he can go.
Of course, Bond is 007. I love that. I love that touch. Maybe he'll be the next Bond. He could play in the movies as replacing
I don't know
Daniel
about
Craig.
his acting skills,
Well,
but
we'll see.
His ability to catch and run, very solid.
He acts pretty good as a wide receiver, I'll just put it that way. This Texas defense, also good at forcing turnovers. They have forced one in every game so far this year. Lead the SEC, Teddy, in interceptions with 7 of them, 9 total turnovers forced. If I ask you, what is the strength, maybe what does the Texas defense do best, what would you say?
Well, they're defend the run whenever they're short in the box because of how big and physical they are on the defensive line and what their backers can do. That's why they're able to have those turnovers, because they're able to sit back in coverage. They're basically going to say, yeah, you want to run it 3-4 yards a carry on us, that's fine, but everyone always does the same thing. They feel like they need to make a play. They got to fit a ball in. They got to chew up some more yardage to stay in the football game. And you start trying to do that in the passing game, and they've got the numbers on you, and they're going to make a big play. So I think that's what they're best at, defending the run, short in the box up front. And to me, you have to make them pay for that. You have to make them pay. If they're going to, give you the numbers, you got to block them and get some yards.
So their strength is up front, where you want to be strong, Gabe, and their linebackers very solid as well. How about that matchup with Oklahoma's offensive line in the trenches?
I think there's really not a hole on the defense when you watch them on tape. I would say if you're looking for the weakest point, it's inside linebacker, and those guys are both pretty dang good.
Yeah.
But the defensive line as a whole, very solid. Michigan couldn't block them. Couldn't block them. They wrecked Michigan, who has quite the reputation along the offensive line. They're good. I don't think anyone on their defensive front at this point in their career is as disruptive as a guy like Byron Murphy was a year ago, but they've got good depth. They're very physical. Colin Simmons, number 11.
He's a problem.
He's a freshman now. He's going to be a very, very big problem moving forward as he develops as a player. But they're just really good and solid up front, and they don't do a lot. They keep it very simple. They don't slant and angle their front hardly at all. They don't blitz. I think they blitz the least of any team in college football. They line up and trust their guys to line up across from you and whoop you. That is where the game is going to be won and lost.
Personnel-wise, they sound a little bit like Oklahoma's defensive line. A lot of guys, a lot of depth. Maybe not stars, but guys who can really play and do so at this level. It is time for My Pleasure, presented by Chick-fil-A. Download the Chick-fil-A app and order your favorites ahead of time. What would give you the most pleasure on Saturday night? Ted, I want your view on walking out of the Cotton Bowl Stadium at about 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be a long, fun day there, and there are probably going to be a few fans that have had some beverages. You're going to get to walk through them. What would give you the most pleasure as you're making that walk?
We run the ball for more yards than Texas. I mean, the turnovers are critical.
In this game, man,
that's right.
It's the run game and turnovers.
That is the statistic, is running the football. And for our formula for our football team, it's critical. Time of possession. They have the more explosive offense coming into this game. We all know that. So we need the clock on our side. We need to play to our defense, the strength of this football team, and running the football is going to be critical, whether it's Mike Hawkins pulling it down in the passing game, designing some new runs, some new wrinkles for him, or getting Javonte Barnes going, getting the jet sweep game going, attacking the perimeter and making those cover corners tackle. We have to run the football.
What would give you the most pleasure, Gabe?
Since I was a player, I've gotten the same thing after every OU Texas game. Corn dog.
Yeah.
Funnel cake.
Yep.
3 wax cup beers.
3 wax cup beers, yeah. No tears in the beer would give you a lot of pleasure.
The most pleasure would be for those to be happy beers.
Happy beers.
Agreed.
Because the beers are getting drank one way or the other.
The formula's not changing.
The formula's not changing. I'm a creature of habit.
Are they going to be watered down with tears or sloshed out halfway because of celebration?
I hope that I am celebrating. It would bring me a ton of pleasure for those to be happy beers.
I think Sooner Nation would agree with that celebration on the Midway on Saturday night. It's a great week in college football, not just the Red River rivalry. You got Ohio State and Oregon, huge matchup in the Big Ten. Should be a great weekend, but can it top last weekend when Tennessee got Rocky-topped and Vanderbama happened out of nowhere? We'll look back at that and make some picks next on Sooner Game Day, presented by Taco Maya.
Sooner Game Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. OU Health. Proud to be Oklahoma's flagship academic health system. The best place to gear up for game day is shop.soonersports.com. Log on to Soonersports.com/kids for information about joining the Sooner Junior Kids Club presented by OG&E and brought to you in part by Orthodontics exclusively, Mathis Home, and Devon Energy. Thank you to our cornerstone television partners, OU Health, OG&E, Fowler Auto Group, and Coca-Cola.
NCAA update presented by Taco Mayo. Big appetite, bigger savings. Download and save today. Vanderbama. Just crazy what happened in Nashville last weekend. Arkansas over Tennessee. That was, of course, in Fayetteville. Missouri, maybe we've seen that coming for a while. They have not played great this year, but A&M looks really strong.
Down.
Yeah.
Don't like how good A&M looks. Don't like it one bit.
Agreed. They're
Thank you,
legit.
Mike Elko.
Minnesota knocks off USC. USC's got a huge game this weekend. Can they bounce back in time, guys? But a crazy weekend. We'll let you pick in a minute. We'll let you pick. Penn State is coming to L.A. this weekend. We'll pick that in just a moment. Speaking of picks, it is time to get to what we did or maybe didn't do. All the upsets, look, we still did okay. Well, didn't even realize I got 4 out of 5. That was 2 weeks ago. Remember, we had a bye week, so we weren't here last week. It would have been a disaster.
I don't even remember who these teams play.
I don't either.
No idea.
I mean,
We all picked everything. Oh, I guess Gabe picked BYU.
Gabe tried to be different and only got 3 out of 5. We may need to recheck. That's been so long ago, I'm not even sure that's what we actually picked.
I can't believe I picked Baylor to win a football game.
Yeah.
How about that?
We only got 3 minutes to get through these, so Grant is telling me we need to go. Our picks are presented by Riverwind Casino. Good times, great rewards. This looks like a good time. Ohio State and Oregon. Dylan Gabriel quarterbacked Oklahoma to a win in the Red River rivalry game. He's going to be front and center, and Ohio State probably on paper the most talented team in the country, but are they tested, Teddy? Who you picking?
They're not really tested, but
Does it matter?
I don't know that it matters. They've got so much talent on both sides of the ball. Oregon, really good, but they haven't looked as clean, as efficient as Ohio State has up to this point. I'm going to take Ohio State.
Earlier in the week, I was convincing myself, Austin Stadium's going to be crazy. The Oregon defensive line's finally going to start playing up to expectations, and I've gone back. Give me Ohio State. I just think that is an incredibly talented football team, and I think they may have the best defense in the country.
I'm with you, Ohio State as well. Ole Miss at LSU night game in Baton Rouge. The Rebels are 1-7 in their last 8 ranked road games. Is it going to be 1-8? I think yes. I'm taking LSU. How about you, Gabe?
I'm taking LSU as well.
Same. LSU, I think trust them at home. Quarterback's starting to come around.
Mm-hmm. Points will be scored.
Yes, they will.
Points will be scored.
Number 4, Penn State is at USC. Penn State quietly unbeaten. They struggled with Bowling Green earlier this year. USC coming off that loss at Minnesota. Who you picking in this one?
I'm going to take Penn State. I think the Nittany Lions are going to go to L.A., and their plan is to mush USC.
Yeah.
I mean, this same type of plan as Minnesota, except they're bigger, more physical, more talented on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I'm with you. We've all picked the same thing so far. How about Iowa State, West Virginia? Rocco Beck's playing good quarterback for Iowa State. They're one of 2 unbeatens left in the Big 12. West Virginia ran all over Oklahoma State in Stillwater last week. I'm picking the Mountaineers. How about you, Gabe?
Thought I was going to be the only one on Neil Brown Island.
Yes.
I think Garrett Green can be a big difference maker in this football game. Iowa State's good, but I think the Big 12 is going to be a bloodbath this year. So, with that in mind, I think Iowa State's going to go to Morgantown and get beat.
Okay. Ted.
Good game. I'll just go against you guys. Give me Iowa State.
Fair enough. Vanderbilt and Kentucky, they have each pulled off huge wins in the last 2 weeks. Mike Stoops, you going with Mike Stoops this week?
You have to. I think Kentucky's defense is too good. Vanderbilt, they've got to come back to reality a little bit,
Rat
right?
poison. They've been fed rat poison.
They've been celebrating all week. They're auctioning everything for that game off. But Kentucky, I think they're going to look at it and go, let's take them to the deep water and let's drown them.
Yeah. And they're coming off a bye last week, Kentucky, after that win over Ole Miss. Yeah, I think we're all taking Kentucky. So those are our picks. We're going to come back, take a look at Sooners in the NFL, and grab a hot take on the way out the door on Sooner Game Day presented by Taco Mayo.
Sooner Game Day is brought to you by Riverwind Casino. good times, great rewards. Coca-Cola. Is Coke Zero the best Coke ever? Take a test. OG&E. We energize life. The Sooner Sports Podcast is your all-access audio pass to Sooner Sports. Listen as Toby Rowland and Chris Plank talk all things Sooners. New episodes drop every day. Log on to Soonersports.com/podcast or search Sooner Sports Podcast in your favorite podcast provider. Presented by Allstate and Riverwind Casino.
$2:30 on ABC for the Sooners and Longhorns from the Cotton Bowl, and some Sooners that made big plays. Remember Kyler Murray, that near complete comeback that he had at the Cotton Bowl? How many years ago has that been, Gabe?
He had a very
18.
similar run last week.
I know. I was laughing.
He
When's
put the finger up at like the 40-yard line.
He didn't even turn the corner yet.
That was crazy.
Awesome.
Ramondre Stevenson on a tough year for the Patriots with the coaching transition. And how about Baker Mayfield? Second in the NFL in touchdowns. So Sam Darnold.
Hey, all the best to Baker and the Bucks down there. That hurricane looks crazy.
Tampa took a direct hit from Hurricane Milton this week. We do wish all the best
Got
to
Baker versus Spencer Rattler coming up.
That's who would have thought that.
I know.
Spencer Rattler as a starting quarterback in the NFL. You got Sam Darnold's having a resurgent year as well. Baker's
resurgent. He's the leading for
killing
MVP.
Yeah.
He's changed things around for the Vikings this year. Time for hot takes. They are presented by Air Comfort Solutions, your total home solution for plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and electrical. Make the winning call today. Teddy, what is the winning call going to be? What is your hot take?
The hot take is going to be that the offense wins it in the fourth quarter.
How so? Come on, give us a real hot one.
Mike Hawkins, a big run, and then Mike Hawkins finds J.J. Hester in the corner of the end zone, similar to what we saw with Nick Anderson a year ago.
How about J.J. Hester's resurgence last week as well? Big plays from him.
That was insanely specific.
It was.
Well, he asked the
I
details.
love that.
I think resurgence is the word of the day today, or at least we've made it that. How about you? What's your hot take?
I'm going big game for Brendan Thompson.
Okay.
I think that he's done a nice job this season of winning on routes, and for whatever reason, the ball just hasn't found him very consistently. I think that his speed, I think he can make some money against the corners for Texas, even though Jahdae Barron and Muhammad are very, very good players. But he's got the speed to run away from those guys, and he's been really good in the intermediate routes from that 10 to 20-yard range. Ball's got to find him, though.
Why is this the best rivalry in all of college football?
The spectacle.
Okay.
I think the setting.
Yeah.
I think it's the most unique setting in sports. And then I believe it's the 44th time.
So this is what I was going to say. They're the two most consistent teams of any rivalry.
Yes.
That
It's
are
the-
in the conversation
It's
nationally.
games that have meant the most in the national conversation have been a bigger part of this series than any other.
I think I read it's the 44th time where both teams are ranked in this game. That's more than the Iron Bowl, the Egg Bowl, and Texas A&M combined.
Well, at my time at OU, the lowest this game ever was ranked was 10 versus 11,
Wow.
and that was in 2000.
Wow.
Every other time was a top 5 matchup.
How you feeling about a 2:30 kickoff as opposed to 11 a.m.?
We'll see. It's going to be hotter than the surface of the sun in there. There's going to be cold beverages flowing.
Yeah.
It's going to be an insane atmosphere.
Yes, it is. And you guys are going to get to be a part of it. You can hear them on the Sooner Sports Radio Network as well. For Teddy Lehman, Gabe Eichert, I'm Chad McKee. Enjoy the Red River rivalry. There's nothing else like it. We'll see you next time on Sooner Game Day.